Hello everyone. Today I'm going to present my art project of Art 100. I'm going to present you a short class of Ancient Egypt cultural heritage or cultural history. Before I start, I would like to explain why I decided to do this. It's a simple thing. I want to be a high school and college history teacher, and that is why teaching a class on ancient Egypt is 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 a way is a incredible thing for me because during my childhood and my young era I have read a lot about ancient Egypt and many facts that seem to be taken for books I knew previously, and that is why I decided to talk it about it. First of all, we have to take in consideration that ancient Egypt period is one of the known wo- best art era known in the world. So much, so much that case that we have some serious movies and all kind of representations have been made it. Egypt developed into one of the world's first complex cultures, notable for its hieroglyph graded system, the construction of magnificent monuments such as the pyramids, and the enigmatic religion centered on the worship of numerous gods. Egypt was a quite complex civilization, so they had too many differences with other civilizations that we know, like the Rome civilization or Greek civilization. The ancient period, the ancient Egypt was located in the North Africa. We have the ancient Egypt timeline. Ancient Egypt have spent a long time in the timeline in the world history, spanning for 3000 3000 before Common Era to 641 Common Era. And now I'll tell you all periods with a brief explanation. The pre-dynastic period. This is a period saw the emergence of the settled communities along the Nile River, leading to the development of agriculture and the formation of city-states. The early dynastic period is the first pharaohs unified Upper and Lower Egypt and establishing the first dynasty in the ancient Egypt. The Old Kingdom is the construction of the monumental pyramids including the Great Pyramid of Giza that took place during this period and was known for the construction of a strong central government and elaborate burial rituals. The first intermediate period is the political fragmentation and instability marked this period, with rival dynasties ruling over different parts of Egypt. The Middle Kingdom is the reunification of Egypt occurring during the Middle Kingdom, which are a revival of literature and monumental architecture. The second intermediate period is when Egypt was involved the, by Hyksos, a Semitic-speaking group from the Levant, who established the rule in the Nile Delta. The New Kingdom considered Egypt's most prosperous and powerful period. The New Kingdom saw the expansion of the ancient empire, the reign of famous pharaohs like Tutankhamun. The Amarna period during the reign of Pharaoh, Pharaoh Akhenaten. The, the third intermediate period is the period was marked by political instability with competing rulers and foreign invasions. The late the late period is the period of Persian and Greek domination in- including the conquest by Alexander the Great, the last native Egyptian dynasty, the Polastids ruling this time with Cleopatra being the most famous ruler. In the Roman period is after the suicide of Cleopatra, Egypt became a Roman prominence and marking the end of ancient civilizations. We have now most of famous things about the ancient Egypt, that is the pyramids. The pyramids are monumental structures found in the various parts of the world, but are best known for the association with the ancient Egypt civilization. Now I'm going to read a section of our textbook, LibreText Humanities, to explain the, the confused context of the creation of pyramids. It's likely that was permanent group of skilled craftsmen and builders who were supplemented by seasonal crews of approximately 2,000 conscript peasants. These crews were divided into gangs of 200 men, which is group furtively divided into teams of 20. Experiments indicate that these groups of 20 men could hold the 2.5-ton blocks for quarry to pyramid in about 20 minutes. Their path is it by a lubricated sulfur of well sealed. An estimated 340 stones could be moved daily from quarry to construction site, particularly when one considers that many of the blocks, such as those in the upper courses, were considerably smaller. There exists too much mystery about the construction of the pyramids because there isn't simply enough evidence. There simply not exist enough evidence to see how they were created. It's a materials and labor and magnitudes that will possible today. But today it's too easier for us to create something like a pyramid because we have some machines that facilitate easier the work in those times. And in those times, it was only people and almost not too much artifacts to help in the construction of pyramids. Functionality. The pyramids are really tombs of the pharaohs since due to their ideology. They will always be remembered after death and will continue lead in the afterlife. The ideology. The ideology of ancient Egypt was built on a complex combination of religious, political, and social beliefs that impact many aspects of Egyptian life. These ideas were profoundly embedded in their society, government, art, and funeral rituals. Religion was extremely important in ancient Egypt. The Egyptians worshipped abundance of gods and goddesses representing various aspects of nature and civilization. They thought that these gods were in charge of natural occurrence and bestowed with gifts and protection. As divine rulers, the pharaohs were seen as intermediaries between the gods and mankind, or more simply the people. The pharaohs were revered as divine monarchs with a supreme political and religious authority. They were given absolute power until legitimacy was predicted under divine descent. The pharaohs were in charge of keeping order and math in the realm, and they were required to protect their subjects and ruled wisely. In a few words, the beliefs on the beliefs of ancient Egypt and governed by their gods and their word by the pharaohs who are the intermediaries between the gods and the people. That's why the pharaoh, pharaon, is the one who has absolute power with the Egyptian civilization. I'm going to mention some gods of the Egyptian culture and their importance. Ra. The first is Ra, the god of the sun, also noted Atum Ra. He was considered the creator of the universe and the king of all gods. We have the second one is Anubis, that is the god of the dead and evolving. He was the guardian of the tombs and guided the deceased to the afterlife. Now we have the third one, that is Osiris, god of resurrection and life after death. He was the supreme judge in the judgment of the dead and ruled the underworld. We have now Hathor, god of love, music, and beauty. She was considered the mother of Horus and was despite with a cow's head, a woman with a cow horns and subtleties between them. And we have now Set, god of the violence, storms, and chaos. His role was ambiguous and he was considered a destructive god. And finally, we have Basset, god of protection, home, and cat. She was represented with the head of lioness or as a woman with the head of cat. Basset was considered a benevolent and protective god. Now we have the pharaohs. Let me let me explain you the role of the pharaohs. The pharaohs were also considered the intermediaries between the gods and humans. They were attributed a divine status and revered as living gods. The pharaohs make the rules and the people have the authority to set policies, rules, and regulate the trade and justice. Now I'm going to present the two best known pharaohs of ancient Egypt. We have Cleopatra, that was the last queen of ancient Egypt, and she had very important historical figure because she had too much political influence. He had she had some relation with Roma and their culture, and also she had a very influence in the art of ancient Egypt. The second one is Tutankhamun, also know it like Child Pharaoh. Is a figure of great importance in the history of ancient Egypt. Is not now for her time like pharaoh or leader. Here important is her tomb that was discovered in the 1922 in 1922. Now we have now we are part of our art class. Now we have talked about some pieces of art or pieces of historical importance from the ancient Egypt. The Rosetta Stone is one of the most important objects in the British Museum. It is, this is important because this is a piece of art or is a piece important because it's the key to understanding the Egyptian hier- hieroglyphics and a script made up a small picture that we use originally in the ancient for religious texts. I'm going to read the part that may make us to understand what is the how it's created. The stone is the tall black rock called granodiorite. It's a part of larger described stone that would have stood some 2 meters high. The top part of the stone has broken off at an angle in line with a band of pink granite whose crystalline structure glints a little in the light. The back of Rosetta Stone is rough, where it has been into shape, but the front face is smooth agreement with text, inscribed in different scripts. These form three distinct bands of writing. All this information I subtract of our textbook. Now we have the gold mask of Tutankhamun. This mask represents the greatness and the skill of the ancient Egyptian civilization. It shows the exquisite craftsmanship and the artistic skills of time. The mask is a valuable artifact that requires careful conservation and preservation. Now we have the palette of King Namor. The Namor palette focuses on human action. Research suggests that these decorated palettes were used in the temple ceremonies, perhaps to grind or mix makeup to be ritually applied to image of the god. This king is represented twice in human form, one on each face followed by his sandal beard. He may also be represented as a powerful bull, destroying a wall city with his massive horns in the model that again becomes conventional. Pharaoh is regularly referred to us as strength pool. All information is subtracted by the book in the chapter 7. These are these texts explain her origin and their functionality. I'm going to explain something else. Is the King Number palette is archaeological artifact of great importance, as considered one of the first historical representation of the unification of Egypt. This carved stone palette shows us the King Number, one of the first pharaohs of ancient Egypt, conducting religious ceremonies and engaging in warfare. Last one, we have the Khafre enthroned. The sculpture depicts Pharaoh Khafre, the fourth ruler on the fourth dynasty of ancient Egypt. He, as a representation of the pharaoh, is symbol of his authority, power, and divine status. And this is the finish of my class. This is the time I was to spend. I spent 2 hours in design this line, research and prepare video 5 hours, and journal record 3. All this all the information I use are subtract of our textbook in chapter 7, and thanks for watching my class.